Today, we're going to dive into something, well, pretty profound. It's a whole new way of looking at the technology we build and use, and it's called conscious systems development.
So let's just jump right in with a question that I'm sure has crossed your mind because it's definitely crossed mine. Have you ever wondered why a system that's, logically perfect, technically sound, why it still feels so heavy or brittle or just, frustrating to use?
Well, the answer, and this is the fascinating part, isn't really in the code or the logic itself. Nope, it's in this hidden dynamic, a kind of stress that actually gets stored inside the very systems we create.
You know the ones I'm talking about, right? The systems that technically work, but they just feel clunky, or they have this hidden fragility that keeps you on edge. And what do? We blame the user. We say, let's just rewrite the whole thing, or we just suffer through it. But what if the problem is way deeper, like an invisible tension that's been baked right into the system from the very beginning?
And that tension, it usually comes from how the system was built. And it boils down to this really interesting difference between two approaches. One is this forceful, dominating kind of control, and the other is a much more centered, non-forceful attunement.
Okay, so this really breaks it down. On one side, you've got what we're calling forceful control. Think of it as domination. It's driven by fear, by crazy deadlines, by just trying to extract value. It tries to bend reality to its will. And the result? Brittleness, mistrust. It's a mess. But on the other side, you have non-forceful control, which is more like stewardship. This comes from a place of clarity, of being in tune with what's actually going on. It cooperates with reality instead of fighting it. And what do you get? Robustness, simplicity, things that actually work and feel good to use.
And this quote just nails it. Force is what power looks like when alignment is missing. That's so crucial. Force isn't real power. It's just a symptom. It's what you reach for when you're out of sync with how things should be built. And it always has a cost.
So, that raises a big question, right? All that force, all that frustration, all that last-minute urgency that gets poured into a project, where does it go? It doesn't just vanish into thin air once the thing is launched.
This is the core idea. It gets encoded into the system. It becomes this latent stress. It's like an energetic blueprint of the rushed, frustrated state it was made in, and it's just sitting there, silently, waiting inside the system.
Yeah, force applied during creation doesn't disappear. It reappears later as resistance during use. And look, this isn't some woo-woo philosophical concept. It's almost like a law of conservation of energy for development. All that pressure you shove into the system, it has to come out somewhere, eventually. And this is a fantastic way to picture it. So, step 1, a builder is rushed, they're annoyed, they're just trying to make it work. Step 2, that frantic energy gets encoded, stored away in the logic, the UI, all the little edge cases. Then, and this is the cool part, that force travels invisibly through the system, just like the energy in a Newton's cradle. And finally, step 4, some poor user hits a confusing workflow and bam, the stored force is released as their frustration. And what's our first reaction? Oh, you know this one. We label it user error. Instead of seeing how we contributed to their struggle, we just push the blame onto them. It was their fault, right?
So, okay, that's the problem. What's the way out? Well, it's a whole different way of being while we build. It's a practice that's going to redefine not just how we build, but what we even mean by the word system.
And that practice is called conscious systems development. It's all about becoming aware of this energetic inheritance. It means making a conscious choice to build from a place of presence and clarity, not from a place of pressure and panic.
Now let's be super clear here. This is not about being slower or softer or throwing deadlines out the window. Not at all. It's about building cleaner systems. It's about us, the builders, learning to metabolize that force ourselves instead of just passing it down the line. What does that actually look like? Well, it's pausing for a beat before you jam in that quick and dirty fix. It's questioning where that sense of urgency is really coming from. It's taking the extra 10 minutes to name a variable something that makes sense instead of leaving a cryptic mess for the next person.
This means we have to completely redefine what a system even is. Look, a system isn't just the artifact, the piece of software, the tool. It's the entire field of interaction. It includes the builder, the artifact, and the user. That whole thing is one single interdependent conscious system. Here's a great analogy. Think about a hairdresser's comb. The comb itself isn't conscious, obviously, but the system of the hairdresser, the comb, and the client, that is absolutely a conscious system.
If the hairdresser is impatient and yanks on a knot, that force is transferred directly through the comb and into the client's scalp. The comb is just the medium. And our technology? It's no different.
Once you see it this way, it leads to a pretty profound shift in how we think about our own responsibility as builders.
And this quote, this one really captures the ethical heart of it all. Any force you do not metabolize during creation will be metabolized by the user during interaction. Just let that sink in. Anything you rush past, your user's going to stumble over. Their friction is the echo of your force. Think about every to-do comment you left in the code because you were in a hurry. Every confusing error message you wrote just to get it done. Every awkward step in a workflow that you knew was good enough but not great. Each one of those is a little packet of friction that you are literally mailing to your users, one commit at a time.
So ultimately, the whole game changes. The focus shifts from just perfecting the thing, the artifact, to caring for the quality of the relationships that the artifact comes from. It means the quality of the relationship is the primary system. The artifact is a byproduct. This is about your relationship with yourself. Are you being patient? It's about your team. Are your code reviews curious or critical? Are your planning sessions about true clarity or just about looking like you're moving fast? It's about a shared commitment to not pass on that technical or emotional debt to someone else.
And that leaves us with a really powerful question to end on. A question for all of us who build things. What are you encoding into your work today? Is it clarity and care? Or is it urgency and pressure? Because the choice, and all of its consequences, that's entirely up to us.